somebody that's already dead? How are we going to kill somebody that's already dead?
It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. None of those risks have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive. None of those risks have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive.
That's our brain treatment was given to you. You are a robot, that's all you are. Better not change your mind. You just better not.
10,
Better not change your mind. You just better
8,
not.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Electron, your sequencer's so impenetrable. I'm sequencing it with something else.
It's actually.
So
I
we're
really
live.
like.
Hi, guys. We're live. Try to give these people a countdown, and they just ignore you.
Numbers are hard.
Ignore me!
I was told there'd be no math.
So welcome once again to Tangents, where Jeff, Justin, Christoph, and myself talk to each other and three people out there on the internet. We are talking about music gear, about whatever the hell we feel like, really, in the end. I have a sinus infection, so I sound kind of stuffy, but if I lower my voice now, I sound sexy. Grrr, daddy.
Got that quiet storm voice going on there.
My quiet storm voice. Yes. Hi, guys. Anyway, let's take a look around, see what's up. Jeff, what's new? What you got back there?
Let's see. I think I have actually, after like a 2-month process, gotten my junk back together. That's cool.
Good job.
Things work again.
Nice.
I ordered some stuff and it finally came in this week, and that was exciting. So I got an analog rhythm and my second Hydrosynth.
Your second
The synth's
Hydrosynth.
so nice I bought it twice.
Wow. So you sold you had one, then you sold it, and then you're back on the rails again?
I had I had the module version of the Hydrosynth, which they sound fantastic, but I just was not vibing with the form factor of it, so I switched out for the keyboard.
Okay.
It's got a beautiful keyboard. The action is actually really nice.
It does. It's a lot of fun to play.
I have
with.
the module, and then if Justin comes over with his, then we'll plug them in together, and we'll have 16 voices of whatever the hell this synth is.
Nonsense.
Yes.
That's right. They do work together. That's cool.
Polychaining is a beautiful thing. I wish more keyboards would do that. I wish they would do that with the Peak, because then I would get a Summit, and then I'll have like huge.
They just call that one like the Everest.
Yeah, the Everest or like the Mons Olympus. Yeah, it's cool. Well, good job. I'm glad you picked up the new stuff there. Hope the analog rhythm
thank you. It's good.
is giving you joy.
It is. It's fun. I was ignoring the countdown like a heathen and saying that I really like the sequencer on it. I haven't. It's my first piece of Electron gear that I've ever owned, and I dig the sequencer on it. But I'm so like deep in the weeds on this Squarp Pyramid sequencer that I wound up like the Electron stuff does not particularly want to be sequenced externally.
Yeah, no, it's really hard for it to be that. Absolutely.
It is not into it, and so it took like the better part of a week for me to really feel like I could get my head around like how to do it effectively. But I got there. So sorry, Electron. Your sequencer's rad, but I didn't spend this much money on a sequencer to not use it.
Yeah, because the sequencer is amazing on those things. And the good thing is that once you understand one of them, then all of them except the Octatrack open up quite nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, the parameter locking is really what I love about the rhythm.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very cool. I have barely scratched the surface of it, so it'll be fun to learn.
Sweet. Christoph, what's new in your world?
Nothing. Back to you.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Back to you, Dave.
That was useful. Sorry, I'm getting like line noise in my mic for some reason. Might be the cable, and I was just trying to adjust that. But whatever, y'all just have to deal with the line noise.
All right.
I'll just nuke it from orbit.
Do you have like a limiter or something? because it cuts out when you're not speaking.
Well, that's you guys hear me through the webcam up there, but
I got
the
you.
internet
Okay.
hears me through this microphone.
I see.
Yes, and because Skype does the noise gating automatically, but
Got
OBS is a bit of a different beast. It's probably just like too much weird shit going on in here right now. Anyway, so Christoph, nothing really.
Well, I got a fancy new mic cable. I finally have my ESI UX 168 working with OBS
Oh,
correctly.
good.
Yeah, so that's helped. I've solved my latency issues, my cabling issues. I can run a compressor now. But yeah, my life is still largely revolving around streaming.
That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think my life is kind of revolving around streaming right now too, so I completely understand.
Yep.
Justin, what are you up to?
Well, let me think. I've been mixing. So I've been mixing the 7 tracks of that project I was working on, and I hate mixing a lot.
I know you do.
But it's okay. I'm getting there. I will say that not to like name drop Isotope already, but man, that Neutron 3 Advanced is saving my life right now. Although, it's pros and cons to it, because I also use a lot of Waves plugins to get sort of SSL console sound, because that's what I'm going for. So, and one of the things it does, right, is it mixes stuff together so that you're getting noise across the channels. And so Neutron isn't liking that. And it's just a very technical job. And sometimes I'm like, I just want to make music. This is terrible.
Yeah, I understand. Like I like mixing, but I don't like it that much.
Exactly.
Especially your own stuff, because you'd like paint yourself into a corner really quick, and then you're like, I'm just frustrated now.
I'll probably do what you did ultimately for Plasma Blackout, or no, it was the other project you did where you're like, could you just listen to this?
Oh, the incremental stuff?
Yeah, because you get to the point where you're like, I just can't, I don't even know anymore.
I'm too married to it, and that's like, I can't.
I have no context at all for this.
Yeah,
so
I need a
please.
disinterested third party's ears, please, because I'm too, we're too close to the whole thing.
Totally.
Yeah, it's because I'm an amateur, really. So.
Yeah, same here.
Cool.
That is a very real thing.
Yeah.
Like when you like tip and you can no longer it's just like if you say a word too many times and it stops sounding like a word, it's just like a weird noise that you're making with your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It gets.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
mixing for me. Says it's like after a while, I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't know what's music.
Because I mean, in theory, it's like, okay, you just EQ, volume, panorama, maybe a little bit of sidechain compression here and there, and you think that would be it. But then you watch people on, on YouTube or whatever that do it professionally, and you're just like, this is so deep. Like you could just go down this rabbit hole. It's like completely its own universe and way more effort than I want to put into it.
But I really like the Ken Marshall approach to the whole thing, because he was just like, everything I've ever watched him, he's just like, just fuck with it and see what it does. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about if you're going to put your compressor before your EQ or whatever. Just do it and see what happens. Make it a fun experience. And I like that. I mean, you've seen me mix before. It gets ridiculous. I'm like,
the flip side of that is when you have a problem and you don't know how to fucking solve it.
There is that. Which case you're like, quick,
just like I'm getting
YouTube.
this masking and I can't get rid of it.
You just rearrange the song or write a different one. Like that's the answer there. You just write a different song and throw that one away.
Throw that kick out and just put a new one in there.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know. That was bad. It's just a bad song.
So I'm taking this Ferrari, lighting it on fire and pushing it into Lake Michigan. I'm done with this thing. It doesn't work. I'm joking. More like a Toyota Yaris in my case, but still.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of like pro techniques that you can use to clean up your bottom end and bring more definition in. So sometimes there's rules and sometimes there isn't. I think Ken Marshall's what he's really getting at is don't be afraid to experiment. And if it sounds good, do it. But in the end, you do have to produce something professional. And he does a lot of techniques on that, about how he just does his gain staging and making sure that tracks start loud and then they can slowly go down a little bit so that he can then boost them up in the chorus instead of having it start low, which will automatically lose you in the radio.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I once I understood gain staging, it changed my life.
Yeah.
Even with soft synths. So let's talk about what's going on here in the world of music. So I put everything together, and then like right after I put together the show notes for today, like 2 more things happened. So, but I already locked it out, so we won't talk about those things.
Well, you can break the rules. Don't be afraid to break the rules. As long as it sounds good.
It might not sound good, though, because I'm not coming from a place of expertise. So,
okay.
Plus we might run out of time. So the Arturia Keystep Pro 2.0 update with a metric ass load of new features. I do not have a Keystep Pro. Does anybody else? Does anybody have a Keystep Pro here?
I do not.
I have the B-Step Pro, and I like it very much, but not the Keystep.
They're very popular. I mean, I see the kids use them a lot.
They're insanely popular.
Yeah.
I think they're really good if you're not if sequencing very like super complex, really long things for it, or really a lot of instruments. They seem really good, and they're not that expensive, are they? Either they're like a $300 or something.
I think so. Yeah.
It seems like a really great value to get like a pretty good set of keys, a pretty good sequencer, and a lot of compatibility because it's got MIDI and CV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't have CV, so it gives you the ability to. Yeah, I think it's especially popular amongst modular people that don't have other controllers.
Yeah.
I was going to
think
say
that's
that.
very true.
If I had a
Especially
small
for, like,
modular rig,
techno.
a small modular rig would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at those and I'm like, oh, that's really that might be handy. And then I'm like, I just do that with my Deluge and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that's funny, if you read through the list of features, the new features and the bug fixes, I was like super surprised at a lot of stuff that wasn't there out of the box. I was like,
yeah, like
hey,
the chord mode, like they couldn't sequence chords in real time,
or
could
and the arpeggio feature,
Yeah.
right? That you could.
It was meant for mono synths.
Yeah. Very weird. That's true. But hey, I mean, if you can fix it in software, cool, whatever. Right?
Yeah. I think a big part of it was like now that Behringer has cloned them and without improving upon the product, they've decided to improve their product.
Well, they cloned the was it the Keystep Pro or just the Keystep that they cloned?
It was
I think
it was
it was
a Keystep, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the baby one.
Okay.
Which is like that was such a very weird thing to clone. Like here's a $100 product that's been out.
We're gonna sell
like
for $79.
7 years. Yeah, like we're gonna not make any money on this. And by the way, everybody who wanted one of these already has one, but we'll do it.
Fuck you, we're Behringer.
Decisions. Architect in the chat says he says checked it, unchallenged in his price, class, and size. Not in love with it though.
Yeah, Actitect. I know I know he uses it. I've seen him a lot on his streams. It's the mini keys thing is always kind of irritating to me because I got fat fingers, but I can play just fine on the little tiny Deluge buttons. But so I've always been kind of like I can see the use of mini keys. I have an Arturia Key Lab, like the micro mini one, and that's great. But yeah, I don't know. I don't use it.
What's funny, I actually like some of the stuff Arturia make, and I have some legacy stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
My main keyboard rig is the old Analog Experience 61 key because of the way I've got everything laid out, you can only see it. It's very, very, its profile is very, the depth is very small, so it'll fit on top of the keyboard, and it's got beautiful polyphonic aftertouch, and I love it. And it's weird because it's like 10 years old, and they don't make them anymore, and I had to buy another one just for parts.
Which one is that?
It's the old Analog Laboratory, or Analog Experience, the Laboratory. They made a 49 and a 61 key version. And it's still recognized by like Analog Lab in Arturia. It's and you can still update it through that little mini controller software. But
that's right. I remember that software they made.
Yeah, I just like the controller so much. I had the 49.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's my interest because I used to be in a band with somebody that had an ASR 10 and had the best polyphonic aftertouch keyboard I've ever used ever. Because I have an Ensoniq SQ80, and it's got a polyphonic aftertouch, but the feeling is terrible and it's loud as crap. And so I wish I had something that was a better polyphonic aftertouch keyboard because it's so expressive. It makes such a huge difference if you can play for it. Like Jeff wrote something last week using polyphonic aftertouch, and it's amazing. It's a really powerful tool.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and those ASR 10s still go for like 1,100.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because of that controller.
Yeah.
And by the way, I should point out it's super heavy. So
Yeah.
it felt like, carrying a body into a gig.
Yeah, I just moved from a downstairs apartment about 6 months ago, and I had to move it up. And yeah, not good.
Your ASR 10?
Yeah, heaviest thing that I own.
Yeah. I think mine is probably the Prophet 6. No, the Z1. The Z1's really heavy.
Yeah.
ActorTed also says the KeyStep Pro keys are pretty okay. His primary is the Nord Stage, which has a really nice keyboard.
Is that an 88 key big one, or?
I don't know. Is that an 88 or a 61 ActorTed? We'll find out momentarily. Unless he's given up on us. 88. He's got the full size.
Nice.
Because he actually knows how to play keyboards and stuff, unlike me. So. And
I know how to play the blues scale on a keyboard.
I don't. I can set the scales up on the
you
tell it to play it for me.
It's definitely funny because the things that I think the things that I associate with I don't know, like piano playing are not oftentimes what I associate with synthesizer playing. Yeah. And I am not a great piano player. I'm not a great synthesizer player either, but I definitely I find sometimes like I wind up having conversations with people and they're like, I'm not a great keyboardist, and I'm like, well, are you talking about Bach or are you like what is your baseline reference? But yeah, it's definitely an interesting skill set. Mm-hmm. That's how I convince myself that it's like worth having all of these contraptions over here.
Right. It was funny because I was just talking to Justin before we got started about how I was thinking about like trading out my analog keys for an analog 4. I mean, just because like whenever I look at the analog keys, I want to treat it like it's a keyboard. And its power isn't the keyboard. Its power is the fact that it's a piece of electron gear and it's got this crazy sequencing and it's great for making the beeps and the boops and stuff. But I want to, every time I look at it and every time I use it, I want to use it as like I'm going to play chords and make it pretty sounding and stuff like that, as opposed to just using it as a analog synth that can go crazy. But I'm not a big fan of keyboards because I'm not a good keyboard player.
I'm not sure if that's circular reasoning or a chicken and the egg problem, but
yeah, I don't know. You know what? I'm pulling this shit out of my head.
Well, they are kind of weird if you think about it. I mean, they're almost like I feel like they're almost designed like typewriters to be uncomfortable and difficult.
Isn't that what Roger Lynn told me when he was talking about like why do you use keyboards with synthesizers? And he's like, it's just typing. You're just turning on and off a button. Like hearing Roger Lynn go off on using keyboards for synths is just a fun time. Everyone should experience it because he kind of sounds like a light jazz DJ.
Yeah, he does have that sort of like real slick,
really nice,
like
smooth,
almost
voice.
Like well polished Southern gentleman thing going on. He could sell you anything.
Oh yeah,
that's the crazy. He's real smooth.
I have a Linstrument, so it worked. Actitech says computers are also still mostly typewriters with TVs, and if you watched Max Headroom, the computers literally were typewriters with TVs.
Oh man, that's the second person to mention Max Headroom today.
You're welcome.
And
and Brazil too.
I love that. I love that stuff so much.
I guess we're 20 minutes into the future.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, we're 20 minutes into the show and we probably lost everybody already, but that's okay.
Well, yeah. You can't lose anybody if you don't have anybody.
Fair enough.
We love all of you who are watching. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Got to be nice because Christoph's not.
Sorry, architect. I'm a bastard.
That's part of your charm, though, man. Come on.
It is. It's the whole thing.
So, yeah, speaking of charming, Akai, in all of their wisdom, made a MPC-1 gray.
That's what we needed.
It's
Yeah.
actually, I've been looking
Okay.
at it. It's actually Game Boy gray, like my Ambernick handheld toy.
It's gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
So it's made to look like the classic NPCs.
Yeah.
Sort
Except
of.
it has a screen that is this big on it that is displaying like the whatever the NPC software is that looks exactly like Ableton.
Yes.
I don't know what I haven't used one of the new ones. I've seen when I was building like my whole like just totally throwing out the DAW out of everything. I looked at the what's the new big NPC? It looks like an ass.
RBC X. It's the X.
Yeah, the X. I looked at one of those, and I watched a ton of videos on the thing, and it's remarkably powerful. Like it seems like it does the things that it does really well, but I was like, that's just a small computer. That is not an NPC. That's just a computer that's got a weird keyboard on it.
Well, that's the real question is like, cause you got me, started now, but so I'm a huge NPC fan. My favorite NPC is the 2000 XL.
Yeah.
But and I have a very customized one because I'm that guy. But the last one that I also own, which is the MPC 5000, which is still an NPC, but it's got like that Alesis Ion engine in it, so it's got a synthesizer in it. But what really makes the difference to me is the sequencer, because the ASIC that they probably got in there running the 96 PBQ and sequencer sounds so freaking tight on that 5000. It's just so goddamn good.
Yeah.
And to your point, why would I want a computer in a box that could get lag and whatever and not have the same sequencer tightness? To me, if you love the MPC workflow and it's your jam, then yeah, fine. All right, that's cool. I think that's really who that's for. And the MPC-1 was a weird one to start with because, it brought back, how should I put this? Vendors are so weird because they never give people what they want, right? Which is my comment was if they just re-released the MPC-60, do you know how many more of those they would flog? It's crazy. They would sell so many of those things.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to modernize it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with SCSI gear anymore.
Or would you
Okay.
actually? I'm not even sure. I bet you could sell it, and the amount of like nostalgia buyers that would get behind that thing. I mean, look at what the prices of like a Jupiter 8's going for, or
That's different though. There's no SCSI
Yeah,
on the Jupiter
exactly. I was
8.
about to say that there's no like weird like floppy drives or
But the Jupiter 8, did that have MIDI?
No.
No, it did
I
not.
think you had to put a kit on it. So like a
Yeah.
Jupiter MIDI would help.
and the same thing with like the Juno 60s. There's like that. What is it? Tubu Tech.
Yeah.
I don't know if you say
Whatever.
if you say it every way that's wrong, it counts as saying it right. That's the rules. I think I've covered them all. But if you see any of the Juno 60s now, like they all have this aftermarket hacked in MIDI control that I think
that was true 20 years ago too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Kiwi?
but
Is it
20
the
years
Kiwi
ago they
one?
weren't $1 million.
No,
Yeah.
no. 20 years ago, you could pick up a Juno 60 for like $500 to $800.
But I mean,
the pads are. The MPC-1 pads look real small, which is another thing where I'm like, it doesn't run on batteries, like the Live does. So I don't know. I don't know who it's for. I guess maybe. It's cheap enough that maybe if you're getting started, although you could get started with Fruity Loops or something like that for help.
but it's also not an MPC, right? And I think that there's a couple of things to look at. A is like the MPC-1 is obviously the entry level model for the MPCs.
Yeah.
that's cool. And, people that see like MPCs and stuff like that, and the people that know what they are, have a nostalgic feel about them. So getting them in a nostalgic color makes it feel a little bit better. It's just kind of like, Jeff, you've got the Analog Rhythm Mark II Black Edition back there. I have the Analog Rhythm Mark II Gray Edition. And the same goddamn thing. They just have different colors. And some people are actually like, they waited until the Black Edition. It's kind of like the Moog Matriarch and the Grandmother. You didn't want to buy them because they came in clown colors, but when they were black, you were okay with it.
But there's a difference between aesthetics and nostalgia. I mean, sometimes they kind of overlap, for sure.
A lot of times.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, but there was actually an MPC Live. I don't know if it was the 2 or the first MPC Live that they released with that color scheme that they released the MPC. And this one guy on YouTube did a demo of it. I don't know what they were doing, like just testing the waters on it. But to me, I do love the coloration. I do think it's very cool. I love that sort of plasticky, grayish, off-white, whatever color that is. But if they made the Live that way without the dumb speakers, that's the other thing. They discontinued the Live, and now they've got the Live 2, which just added dead weight because I'm never going to use attached speakers in any. I can't imagine a world.
Anything that has a tiny built-in speaker is just like, unless you've got the sense of humor of Synthstrom when they just say for emergency use only in parentheses, like on the box, as a feature.
So bad.
I mean, the speakers.
Well, to me, they sound just like like a nice sort of Bluetooth speaker. I mean, it does handle some low end okay, but it's like.
But you're not gonna bust that out at a party and be like, check out my fat beats as you're like playing through this like little like Bluetooth speaker, kind of thing.
Yeah, you could be the electronic equivalent of the jerk with the guitar at a party. Sorry.
Sorry to all you jerks at guitars at parties.
No, that was a reference to Animal House.
I was about to say that just makes me think of Animal House. I gave my love a cherry.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not picking on guitar players. I am a guitar player. I own a lot of pedals. I love them. I'm not dissing guitars. I'm just saying.
Well, I won't bring it out for the second half of the show. I was playing a serenade and everything, but
not this time.
Bring up that 12-string guild, man, and play some folk music. And
bust out my guitar and do some. Sing some of my favorite love ballads.
I was having a conversation. So I have this woman who works for me who's fantastic, and she was telling me this story about this guitar that she had, like that her parents had gotten her when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, she was like, I don't know, like just out in the wild, encountered one, and she hadn't thought of this thing in many years, and just out in the wild like bumped into one at like some like. I don't know, like a Goodwill or something like that, and basically said that she had this like just rush of memories that came back from this guitar that she hadn't thought about.
Aww. Guitars bring joy to the world. The
world needs more guitars.
It really does.
I mean, what the world needs is a version of the Matriarch as a guitar.
There you go.
It comes with like an Olympic like deadlifting gym.
Well, it's like the Liberator.
What was that thing? Was it the Moog Opus? Was it the Opus, Andrew?
No, the Moog,
didn't they make it?
The Moog Liberation.
They made it. Yeah,
it was the guitar, but
if
you actually held it, it weighed about as much as the Matriarch. So.
Yeah. Was it the ARP Avatar? There was a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Yeah.
Time period.
I mean, I have an AX7. It's like one of the few pieces of Roland gear that I actually have and like. And I will totally get like the Axe Edge because it looks like an axe and it's stupid. And I love me some stupid guitars. I love it. One of my favorite moments as a musician was playing my guitar with a line dance of stormtroopers at the Cleveland Science Center. And they had they were holding their guns like guitars and dancing with me. That's when I knew I made it.
Yeah,
that's a bucket list item right there. That's good. That's good stuff.
Done.
Yeah, there's like no way to be unhappy if you're holding a keytar, and no way to look uncool, which is pretty neat. There's like, here's this thing, you look cool, and you can't be unhappy when you're holding it. It's just
and I'll tell you what, man, your significant other will love you for it.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely.
And if you don't have one, you will get one, because
you're gonna have 2 or 3 by the end of the night.
Absolutely, because keytar.
I don't know. I'm very skeptical, guys.
This is not your lived experience. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hey, you guys stop talking. I'm looking up buying the Behringer SH101 keytar now.
It's like, send me two. Send me two. I got 2 arms.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So there you go.
So, just so you know, I had
keytar and a spacesuit.
I had a blue one, and I sold it to somebody in Chicago, and I couldn't find the grip, the hand attachment for it.
Yeah, I'm looking for the grip.
Yeah, the Kung Fu grip, the G.I. Joe thing, right? No, what happened is that I couldn't find it because I moved, and then when I finally found it, I messaged the person on Reverb and said, "Hey, I finally found it. I want to come get it."
And he's like, "No."
No, they came and got it, which was cool.
So yeah, Lord loves a keytar. Oh yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that some folks have preferences for, nostalgia. Some people have preferences because they think it looks cooler. Is it a shameless nostalgia-fueled cash grab? Probably. But just like
it'd be neat if they offered some sort of like an old school mode or something on it, where
the gets like crunchy sounding.
Or even if if there were a version of the sequencer OS that just sort of like stripped back down to the original version, and just used the big screen real estate to give you, like legible
LCD
text
interface, the kind of text and everything.
They could do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah, I mean, compare the screen size from the XL to the 5000, and it's significantly bigger. It's still that sort of LCD, gray, whatever. But it forced you to think musically rather than visually.
But yeah, I don't know. I've never used an MPC. I don't know how to use an MPC. They look confusing to me.
I've used them a little bit, and it's a little confusing, but I think it's kind of like the Electron gear in this sense. Like, once you learn the language, then you speak the language, and it sort of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. And watching people who are really good at them is I don't know. It when you get really good at it, it looks like it's very, very smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Like watching Ricky Tinez on his channel, like watching him work with that thing is incredible. He's just like an extension of his fingers.
Oh yeah, that guy. I mean, watching him work the circuit and like pretty much everything. I mean, Enrique is really just mind blowing. Period.
Well, yeah, he's so cool.
I love hanging out with him.
Great.
So
what's funny is
you're a machine user and a MPC user, right?
Yes.
Are the workflows similar?
To what, Machina and MPC? Yeah, in a sense. I think the Machina is a little bit more, maybe more flexible, but also a little more convoluted.
But it's still very pattern-based, right?
Yeah, so it's the MPC workflow, and I haven't worked any of the new ones, but I think they keep the same one, is it's just kind of like lists of sequences. Create a bunch of sequences, string them together, you got a song, right?
Yeah,
but
like the old SP12 and 1200 workflows.
Yeah. The difference is like you have to be cognizant of things like kits and programs. So it's not unlike the rhythm in that sense. The trick to MPCs is always save the goddamn program because you will lose any global stuff and like the whole cognizance of what you're doing. So the program is like the entire universe when you load it, which makes it a pain in the neck if you're trying to use it as a live tool. I mean, the new one might not be like that because you have to load this whole program to get to the next thing, unless you carefully make one program and then put all your sequences inside of it. But yeah, I would say the people I like the most who use it, and there's a whole community of folks who are like finger drummers. There's a guy named Arab Music who I really, really like, and those folks are freaking amazing on the MPC. Like live, playing drums live on MPC, it's pretty crazy.
They're really talented folks.
Yeah,
there.
it's like watching any other like virtuoso musician working their instruments and stuff like that. It's just like mind blowing to see some of these folks.
Yeah.
I can play AC/DC drums on like a finger drumming thing. That's about as high.
I can sequence the shit out of a 4/4 beat on any drum machine.
Kick, snare. Bunch of
I
hats.
see some kind of Monty Python skit there where you're like, manicuring your fingernails, getting it just right to hit the button.
Oh yeah.
Yep. He trains all week for this exercise.
That's right.
Christoph, you're killing me.
So, we can all unclench our buttholes now because iLok version 3 is a USB-C port now. Thank God.
I wasn't sure if you were trolling us with that one.
I'm so happy that the USB-C ports that I have so many of can now be taken up by a fucking iLok.
What's weird about is that, I have to deal with iLok and eLicenser, and you can just use software versions of it. I guess this is still sensible for people that are moving from one place to another. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's really I hate this model so much.
Me too, obviously.
First model. But I really do. I think you're exactly right, Justin. It's really targeted at, studios that would download gazillions of pieces of software. And when you would go in to use the studio, they would just have everything installed. And here you come with your iLok and it unlocks whatever you can unlock. It's so goofy though. In the days of where, I have obviously, I guess, no idea what the composition of their sales, what their customer base looks like, but I'm inclined to believe it at this point, given how democratized music making has become and how many people are, bedroom artists or, people like us who have home studios, even a lot of people who are doing very professional work are working from home studios now, and they're sort of working independently. It's really hard for me to envision that the companies that iLok is predominantly serving, especially even the baby version of Isotope is iLoked. Yeah. It just blows my mind to think that they actually need to be focused on this hardware device.
So I think their niche, honestly, has to do with software development. I have some friends that work in that space, and it's super hard to obfuscate stuff. I mean, people will crack your stuff, right? So if you're a small shop, you might just be whatever. But if you're a medium-sized shop, but you don't have the development staff to write good cryptographically sound obfuscation to create a license key structure, then it's easy to write to an API or probably, and just have somebody else handle it.
I would buy that. Makes sense.
I mean, if you look at the companies that I have to deal with, there's the, Waldorf is one of them. The old Palm company, which is the, Wolfgang Palm.
I thought you meant Palm Pilots.
Yeah. So they're mid-sized companies. I think even Waves uses one of them, which is super annoying too.
So I think Cubase is still using the iLok dongle. I know they're getting rid of it, but I think you still need that dongle for now.
Yeah, Steinberg, you can use the Steinberg eLicenser too, which I read is actually going away. So I guess that's just disappearing. So now iLok will have a monopoly on pain and discomfort.
Is Cubase getting rid of iLok for all of their versions, Christoph, or is it?
I think they're just getting rid of the. I thought they were just getting rid of the dongle. So I think they're
switching to a software version
I don't know if they're,
of iLok.
I think they're going to start supporting the software version. I'll have to look into it again. I stopped using Cubase years ago.
I mean, you just log in with it's like a username and password situation. It's
when it works. So I've got some PSP plugins, and I had a nightmare getting them to reactivate, and they keep deactivating. So it's when it works, it's great, but oh man, so.
That's terrible. I haven't ever had that problem, but I can imagine that'd be frustrating. I've had every other problem imaginable with computers, though. So
the other problem I have is I have the Arturia suite, the V collection, and all the new versions of the synths will work through their current e-licenser, but the old versions don't. And there are certain things like, for example, the Prophet VS emulation they have, the old version will load Prophet VS Sysex, and the new version won't. So you need the old version, but you can't activate the old version through their licensing stuff. You need to open up a support call, and they've got to walk you through it. And maybe they'll do it for you.
That's terrible.
Yeah, the other model.
I just hate it when pirates have a better experience than the people that are paying for the software.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to me, the other model, which I detest even worse, which is this sort of IoT model, like Roland stuff. If I have no connection to the internet, I'm not using my plugins. And I think that's pretty lame too.
Especially when you're on a cruise ship.
Right?
So I was on a, I mean, so I've seen that happen where like all the DJs got knocked out because of an iOS update.
Yeah.
And they're at sea, so they can't fix it. So yeah.
That's
DJ Descent, thanks for following us. Hope you're enjoying the show.
Thank you, Descent. How are you?
I remember playing Descent way back in the day.
Me
That's
too.
a fun game.
Descent 1. Yeah.
it
was always rumored that Ogre had written a track for the soundtrack to Descent, but it wasn't really
Descent.
him.
Yeah, Descent 2, and then
It was Mark
then they
Falk
did
that wrote
Descent
it.
Free Space, which was a lot of fun. I like that one.
Yeah, there was Descent was you're like a spaceship in a mine, basically. Yeah.
It was
That
like one of the
fun.
very first video games of that era, like that Doom kind of like build 3D build, but you could rotate in 360 space.
Yeah, it let you out of and it let you off the floor. You were like moving X, Y, Z
Yeah,
through.
and you
It was
could flip in any direction, kind of float there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where I realized the gap in my sense of direction doesn't work in 3D. Like 2D, I have great sense of direction. I never got lost in a Doom map, but it was very easy for me to get lost in Descent.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hello, Bad Seed.
Oh, hello.
Greetings.
I heard a very very astute comment earlier today. I think it was like something I saw on Reddit where somebody said that Doom was a $60 album of music that came with a free game.
That was certainly true of Quake.
I was about to say the same thing. Quake was so good for the music. I still listen to Quake, the album of the Quake music.
I think I like the only movies, the video game soundtracks I listen to are the Mass Effect games.
For me, Air Mech and War Mech.
Oh yeah,
the frontline assembly.
Air Mech.
Oh yeah.
That was actually surprisingly pretty good. I'm not saying surprising in a bad way, but
That's
I
very
like
good.
Frontline.
But for I mean, a lot of video games don't have great soundtracks, but that one did.
Did you ever hear the video game soundtrack that Daniel Meyer did?
No.
I think it's called. It was like one of those like kind of Street Fighter style games. I have a bootleg of a bootleg of a bootleg of it.
Nice.
Street Fighter has some very good music too. Some like really iconic ones in there.
Yeah, it's got this like combination of like drum and bass and like minor key Asian style flutes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of those video game soundtracks have been huge. Like the Mortal Kombat track, I think went gold.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat soundtrack movie, which was like a compilation disc, that one.
That sold more than the movie did.
Yeah, I believe it.
So it sold.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody bought it. Did y'all know that there's a new Mortal Kombat movie out right now?
I saw that.
Yeah, is that released in theaters or an HBO Max thing?
Yeah, I think it's on HBO Plus or whatever. I think it did have a limited run.
Like the movie that no one asked for, wanted, or needed. Here it is.
I don't know. I'm waiting for a Ninja Turtles reboot, man. I'm hoping that Vanilla Ice.
They did a Ninja Turtles reboot not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've done 3 iterations of it now, right?
Yeah, I want to see.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want another one, and I want Vanilla Ice, man. That's all I'm saying.
Well, who doesn't want
I
Vanilla
want
Ice?
Vanilla Leave.
Bury it, really. Grrr, Daddy. Oh my God. So, what else is going on? Cherry Audio's PS20 just came out recently.
Yeah.
This is
Cherry Audio's knocking it out of the park.
no shit.
Huh?
I think every time
Yeah.
we have a show, we have to talk about Cherry Audios. This is a polyphonic Korg MS-20, which MS-20 is the legendary mono synth from the 70s that all kinds of acts have used from whoever to modern day.
Daft Punk.
Yeah, Daft Punk was really big on this whole thing. And this sounds really, really good. And they've taken a mono synth and they made it a polyphonic synth, and sounds really nice. And it's all for $29. $29.
Yeah, what is it with these folks? They're amazing. Not only are they on fire in terms of productivity, but they're keeping their costs so low.
Mm-hmm.
They must have written like some kind of underlying engine that's allowing them to do this.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's just crazy. Yeah.
But it's you can skin it to whatever pretty colors you want. It has like all the little virtual patch bay on there and everything. Like I said, $29.
Did Korg just re-release their full-size reboot?
Yeah, and they released it in pretty colors too.
Yeah, that's right.
And with the PS20, they've expanded capabilities and added capabilities the original doesn't have.
Correct.
Extra patch points for modular. And then, of course, polyphony.
Right.
The real question is, does it have pulse width modulation?
Oh, it
Because
has
that's
the shit out of pulse width modulation.
I know. I just know Nick Batt's not going to touch it unless it's got.
No, as I was watching Sonic talk earlier today, he made sure to mention that it has pulse width modulation. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, their voltage. DJ Descent says their voltage modular synth is a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I've got the free version.
Yeah, but hats off to Cherry Audio, man. They're really pumping out some good stuff right now.
I think with that low price point, they just realize, if you lower the price, you can sell much more of it. And there's, so you have to figure out which one's going to come out even. And just, so just to increase your public view, make the same amount of money, but sell more of it, and then sucker them in later once they're hooked.
Well, that's true super much with software where you're not sort of producing a physical product, right? So all of your cost of goods is essentially like very upfront.
Yeah, it's server space and bandwidth, and then your manufacturing in the background, which is just development.
Yeah, so I can definitely imagine a world in which it really behooves these companies to be coming out with something that they are selling at, I guess it's probably targeting at some sort of an intended break-even point in time. Like how long do we want for our return on investment to take to come to fruition?
And it's because you look at certain models of like different software and everything like that, and you see like I'm just like Logic when they decided to put that out for $200. And if you bought Logic for $200 when it first came out, Logic Pro 10, which is about like 7 or 8 years ago, they're still giving you free updates, and every time they update it, they're like, "Oh, here's another 5,000 new things that it does that no one else has." Here's
it's incredible.
Yeah, here's some. We bought a synth plugin company, and we're just going to give this to you. Here's Alchemy.
Yeah.
We bought that synth company just to take it away from PC people.
Are you grumpy?
Yes.
They
killed Sound Diver, those bastards, and they destroyed my MIDI interface, and I hate that company.
So they didn't actually buy to take it away from PC people, Christoph. They actually found out that you were using it, and they're just
I knew it.
That Christoph.
You're like,
yeah, Logic is crazy good. I use for any of my like pro work. I mean, for my stuff that I want to do for myself, I don't use the computer because I don't care how fast or slow it is, but for pro work, I do almost all of it in Logic, and I'm blown away constantly by like, every couple of months they keep adding something to it, and the stuff that they're adding to it is not like it's not crap, fluff, filler, nothing stuff. It's like real appreciable. Like they added that grid view, which I haven't used. It seems like it's approximately sort of like an Ableton-esque sort of a display, but because that's for music composition, and most of my stuff is like sound for video or sound design stuff. I haven't tried it out yet, but it's crazy how much they add to it, and just like how good and stable it is, and fast. Like the computer that I'm running on is this one is like a 2015 iMac. Still just like burns through stuff in Logic.
Oh yeah, like I was running Logic Pro for years on a 2009 iMac.
Yeah,
you know, and it's extremely lightweight, and the plugins that it comes with are pretty phenomenal. And it does things that I can't find other things that do with obviously that comes with stuff. Yeah, I've been using Studio One a lot lately, and I'm enjoying that. But like if I want to do something, like if I want to auto tune or something like a vocal performance or something like that, I'll go back into Logic and just do it there because I already got the plugin that came with it. I don't have to spend the $700 for Melodyne or whatever. Or like their delay designer or the reverb plugins they have in there, they just sound really, really good.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that maybe doing that kind of model where it's like the lower price stuff. But Logic has a little bit of its own thing because it's like obviously they're selling you the hardware, the Mac to run it. So that's probably why they can make it so cheap. But it's the same kind of thing with like Final Cut Pro, although Final Cut Pro is not that great compared to some of the other stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
It used to be. They just dropped the ball.
Well, when they switched from 9 to 10, it kind of went down to the shitter.
Yeah, that's when they killed the market.
Yeah, and then Adobe kind of took everything.
Yep.
And the one what's the company that's by Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah.
Which is also like
so good.
very, very good.
Oh, yeah. And really, really inexpensive.
And very, very free.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we'll see where that goes as far as like if other manufacturers are going to start going for like less expensive stuff. Although I don't know. I mean,
or like Isotope, who's like, this product is $795, but if you buy it on Tuesday only, we swear it's Tuesday only. Yes, it's free. Here's $3 and a cheeseburger to take it, and that's their model. Yeah. They just lie about how much things cost.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Waves is the same way. Waves is ridiculous. They've got a constant 78% off deal going. It's like I feel like I'm in a friggin' furniture store.
But Waves
today only.
Waves is also Waves has their shtick is that like, oh, you want 64-bit there, you're going to buy it brand new again.
Yeah.
You want it compatible with your new patch? You have to buy it
exactly.
again.
Oh, new version of Logic. You got to buy it again.
They have an install thing. They have like Arturia does and all these. They all do now, right? They all, and yet you can't really upgrade anything because that's not really part of their model.
No, it's just like you're gonna.
No, this is just for buying things. Yeah.
It's on sale, but you got to buy it 20,000 fucking times. So $29 times 20,000 is still a whole lot of money.
That really like chapped me hard when Native Instruments started doing that stuff. I had I don't know, like Complete 3. I don't know what it was. It was like 100 years old or something. But they just stopped authenticating it.
Yeah.
Like I got a new computer and it wouldn't authenticate, and they're like, well, I guess you're gonna have to like buy it again or something. Here, we'll take your money.
Complete is fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's ridiculous.
And now they've institutionalized that. I don't know if y'all saw that. It happened a few months ago, but they institutionalized and were like very public about the fact that they're going to stop authenticating things after a certain amount of time has passed for them for people. So you are just like straight up renting from Native Instruments at this point.
I didn't know about that. That sucks.
Yeah,
that's just rubbish. They should just give you like a loopback adapter or something, right? Yeah. Like, it works for this PC or this Mac or whatever, and that's
it's so ridiculous to do that kind of thing, and I don't understand, except for just cash grabbing.
I mean, that's all that it is. Is that it's not cool. It's consumer hostile and is not.
Well, I mean, at least
makes you want to buy hardware.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. Really, is like I don't buy plugins from Waves at all because of their business practice, and You know, the only thing I bought from Native Instruments ever was Tractor, and that was on sale for $49, and it still works. And I'm not going to buy any of their plugins, even though everyone shits themselves over a lot of their stuff, and their plugins are really good and they sound amazing. But I don't want to have to keep buying them over and over again.
Yeah, it's not a good system.
Yeah, it's like, how deep can we fuck you? I'm sorry, you know.
And it's the funny thing about that is that every company that I see that does that, and this is like not a knock on like NI products, they're good products, but every company I see that's engaging in behaviors like that, which is, like I don't know, like Apple has plenty of things that I guess, like I don't love. I don't know that, I don't think they're out to get me like they are with Christoph, but there's like things that I don't always love, but I feel like, on the other hand, Logic is like the perfect example of an antithesis to this Native Instrument thing. There's like, we're just going to make this awesome thing, and yes, we're going to charge you for it. We're going to charge you a fair price for it, and we're not going to keep like hounding you for money with it. We're going to keep delivering value on it. They've actually gone, I think, way above and beyond what was ever necessary for my $200 on that, but the model that they've established there is very good, and the companies that I see not doing that are by and large the companies that are really like failing to deliver a lot of innovation. Native Instruments has been selling the same plugins with a couple of updates here and there, but by and large, like they're just selling the same stuff to you over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah, just increasing the number of samples that they're selling.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with you, but I think Apple is kind of an aberration, right? Because they are like an 800-ton gorilla in terms of, they could afford to make free Logic for everybody for the rest of time and still have money to burn.
But, and here we go. Here goes Andrew on this one. So you got like a company like Apple that's going to do that kind of thing, and because you're in that ecosphere. But you also see other companies do that too that aren't 500-pound gorillas. And I'm going to go back to my old buddies, Synthstrom. With the Deluge.
Yep.
I mean, these guys, they put this thing out 5 years ago, and every software update, they've added so much more to it. And they're finally like, this year, they're like, we're going to bump the price up by $100. And some people were bitching, and they're like, dude, for how much this thing does, you should just shut the fuck up. Because it's $999, and it does everything.
Yeah.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is I think companies get too ambitious, and then they start to have monetary problems, right? So I can see why they would. I don't agree with it. I think it's kind of capitalist scumbaggery, but I can see why they might be motivated to do that. Whereas like Apple wouldn't do that, because why would they piss off their customers who buy their nice hardware, right?
Or like their pro
Well,
stuff.
that's where the cost of it is too.
And it is, to
say that it is a little disingenuous, and I'm engaging in it myself. Like I'm self-aware of it, but it's a little disingenuous, I guess, to say that the Logic is $200 because, if you compare the hardware from like Apple to Windows, of course, Apple's, dollar for dollar for the hardware. If you're just like chip, box that it's in, keyboard, whatever, it doesn't stack up, but that's not what you're buying. Like you're buying that and the software and the service and the look of the thing. And so it is a total package, but
still, they could be jerks. They could be total jerks about it if they wanted to, and they're not. They're super cool. And that's the other thing is like, to your point, Andrew, like people who do like what Synthstrom is doing is because they care about their products.
And they care about the community that they're building too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's Roland, I think, gets an F- on that.
I'd even just say that.
Yeah.
Badseed 666 has a Yamaha PSR 500 electric piano thing. Dad got it for them at some sale randomly, like there was an attachment plug-in for it to make new tones or whatever. Christoph answered that one. Thank you for that one. So yeah, it's I just looked up the PSR 500 and there is a USB port on the back of it, so you should be able to plug it into your computer and use the computer to make all of the sounds. With something like Reaper is a good inexpensive one if you're a PC user. If you're a Mac user, GarageBand, you can plug it into that, and you can use that or Caustic as well. Thank you, Christoph. To make music and stuff and start noodling around and begin your addiction to synthesis. and nerddom.
Or VCB Rack too.
Oh yeah,
that's another good one.
Absolutely, and free. VCV Rack is like you're just diving right into Crackville.
VCV Rack was how I saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by a 15-minute phone call to VCV Rack because it was the thing that convinced me that modular was not for me.
It's definitely a thing. So Kraftwerk, our good buddies and our good German compatriots, were finally, after 6 tries, inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which tells you how much rock and roll is a thing anymore.
Well,
Christoph, what you wearing there, buddy?
hate
What you wearing there? Are you commemorating with your Kraftwerk T-shirt?
It's a beautiful.
Yes, I
There you
am.
go.
You look great.
It's about time.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate that whole mechanism. No offense to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, I've been there once.
I have a fence for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You want me to talk
Yeah, go
smack?
Well, yeah. First of all, yeah, they still do all the induction ceremonies in your fair state. So Cleveland doesn't have to worry about, all that benefit to the economy they would get.
Thanks for that.
No, but to be fair, I mean, Kraftwerk is so great, and they've influenced so many people, and it's crazy that people who they influenced got, inducted before they did. That's sort of ironic.
But I mean, also like some of the other inductees, you're kind of like, really? Like Tina Turner was inducted this year.
When I think of rock and roll, I think
What's
it's
love
Tina
got to do
Turner.
with it?
It's Tina Turner, AC/DC. Nobody's more
But it's
rock
just
and
weird
roll.
that Tina Turner, she's been around for how many years, and they're just now getting to her. I mean,
Well,
the thing
there's
is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like it's just like they should just call it like the Pop Music Hall of Fame, because really that's what they're doing, whatever the popular music stuff is.
yeah, and there is a time limit on
25
it.
years.
Like,
You have to have
What's that?
released your first record 25 years prior to the induction. Yeah.
that's right.
And they charge you, the artist, for being inducted.
Wow.
That's the scam.
How much?
I'm just excited because the
25
Backstreet Boys
grand?
are coming up pretty soon on 25, so I look forward.
Might be 10 grand. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, paltry.
But yeah, so Jay-Z is also inducted.
I think he can afford the 25 grand
the
or
Foo
whatever.
Fighters.
He was the third one I was going to list out for rock and roll. Like when I think about rock and roll.
Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Todd Rundgren.
Well, he doesn't want to play the 25 grand. He just wants to play on the drum all day.
Right.
So,
Active Tech says rock and roll is staying up all night and throwing bogues out of the window, which fans of our Synth Fest, one of the guys, his bogue kept on going out of tune, and he threw it out of his apartment window while the stream was going on.
Oh,
Yep,
yes.
that very one. You too might get frustrated with it there, Christoph, and toss it out the window.
Are you throwing it out the window tonight? Is tonight the night?
I forgot I have my window closed,
Oh.
so it's bouncing.
What
air
was great
conditioner.
is like he opened the window and his cat's like sitting there watching him, and then he just throws it and the cat freaks out and takes off, and it's just like and folks like video sampled that and were using it in later streams during the festival and stuff. So it's fucking phenomenal. Callus is the name of that streamer.
Because it was going out
Yeah,
of
because
tune.
he's always had problems with it. It's never worked right. It's always been going out of tune. It's not like
Well, Mini Moogs go out of tune too.
yeah,
though.
I know, but he's it's much more fun to throw a Behringer product out the window.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's not a $4,000 loss. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was fun still. So yeah, Kraftwerk got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is based here in my beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio. I've been thank you. Actitect has posted the link of the clip of Callus throwing his bogue out the window, so you can check that out. Yeah, one of the things about living in Cleveland is you only go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when you have company from out of town coming in and they want to see it. Most Clevelanders have never been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame unless they went with somebody from out of town. It's, I don't know, seeing like Devo's clothes is cool. David Byrne's suit.
The funniest thing I ever saw there was, what's his name? The big dubstep guy.
Skrillex?
Skrillex. They had a little end case display, and it was like, this is Skrillex's audio interface and his MIDI controller. Like, literally. And then here's his, like, his
busted up MacBook Pro?
His old, it was his old iBook or something. I'm like, why do I want to see?
Yeah.
There's some old consumer technology.
Yeah. It's not old enough to be vintage and interesting yet.
It's like here's this old Adderall controller. Remember Adderall? Calling him.
I really like just as you said about the old stuff. I really like LCD Sound System and James Murphy's labeled DFA Records, and their like slogan is, what is it? It's something like too old to be new, too new to be classic, which I always thought was very good. It was very clever. Christoph, you're a huge Kraftwerk fan, and I'm going to say a controversial statement. Maybe it's not controversial. I don't know. I always stuff I hear from Kraftwerk, I'm like, that is really impressive, but it's never sort of like, I don't know, it's never lit me on fire. But I've also never put in the effort with any of it.
Well, Jeff, I'd like to thank you for being on our show. We're going to go ahead and kill him now.
I'm trying to do a PSA here. So what would, like, if you were to tell somebody, like, what is the thing that will make you love Kraftwerk? What's the thing?
Attention to detail. So there's a ton of variation that doesn't immediately pop out at you, but if you look for it, there's so much subtle detail. It's hard. Like, a lot of their stuff sounds like it's minimalistic, but when other people do minimalism, it's boring, and when Kraftwerk does it, it's not. And there's an incredible attention to detail to it. Not just that, even without the synthesis, they're interesting musicians. The chord progressions that they choose are interesting. The mood that they do, their aesthetics are consistent over a course of 45 years. The first album sounds like the last album. And I think it comes from this weird, they never followed any trends because they didn't have to, because two of them were born into money. So they had no interest in selling out. They just did what they believed in. They had a bunch of aesthetic theories, largely based on Carl Stockhausen. They had degrees in music, and they had these beliefs, and they just went for it their entire careers. And so they've got this consistency of aesthetic values, and so it's that. But also they're innovators. Like, so much of electronic music, it's like watching Halloween and then looking at slasher films after that, or horror movies. It's all based on Halloween. Kraftwerk set the mold for modern pop music. Like, every innovation that didn't come from the Beatles probably came from Kraftwerk, especially if it's electronic. There are innovations on top of that, but the basic structure, it all comes from Kraftwerk. So that's the thing. Like, the first drum machine that you could play, made by Kraftwerk. They worked with Bob Moog. They worked with Synclavier, and so, I mean, they made the technology adjust to them. So there's just so many innovations, things that came out. The first analog sequencer was something that they worked on getting designed. So they were the first to bring up the 30s vocoders instead of the 70s vocoders. So there's just a ton of innovation. But even without all that, the way they compose and, like, the mood to it, there's like a retrofuturism to it. Right. And it's kind of uplifting and weird. Like, to find the joy of riding the Trans-Europe Express, that's a weird thing. So
they brought about that thing that wasn't even happening previously, which is this sort of nerd engineering sort of, but also like you said, the Stockhouse, they brought like weird sort of artistic sensibilities into this. And I guess, to let you off the hook, Jeff, they have a very specific aesthetic. And if it doesn't speak to you, it doesn't speak to you, man. I'm not going to blame you for that. But other than that, everything Christoph said was 100% true. I love them to death. But probably
I'll give you
my
one
top
more.
5 favorite bands.
I'll give you one more thing to like. So the song Autobahn is basically like anybody else would do it. It would be a 22-minute loop, But they just keep adding things and removing things and adding variations, and it's just kind of fun. It's hypnotic and it just sinks in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I understand it's not immediately accessible because it's cold and sterile. But for people that are human challenged like me, that's great.
One of my favorite things is the documentary Synth Britannia, which was out a few years ago on the BBC. Everyone that they interviewed, like Ann McCloskey from OMD and the guys from Human League and like Gary Newman, they're all like, yeah, we all went to this Kraftwerk concert and decided we wanted to make that music, and we threw away all of our guitars and bought synthesizers. And each person had the same story.
Yeah.
Even Front 242, who claims to have invented EBM, took the wording from a Kraftwerk quote.
Wow.
So their influence is just astonishing. And if you ever get to see them live, which if you get the chance,
oh, absolutely,
do it. It's worth the
so
money.
much fun. It's the best 2 hours watching 4 men not move a fucking inch.
It looks like this.
But you're wearing 3D glasses and everything's in 3D.
Yeah, but besides that though, it's sound, and then that's when it really hit me about how much all music and pop music kind of stems from that, was when I saw it live, and how much it stands up. And you remember, so wait, they wrote that in the 70s.
Yeah.
And nobody was doing anything like that in the 70s. And they were distinctly trying to do something different. They wanted, they didn't want to do like German krautrock. They didn't want to do something that sounded like American music. They wanted something that was unique, and they did it. They made something unique that, influenced the whole world.
And techno got its start from them, and house music and everything like that. You got hip hop. I mean, like
Africa Bambaataa.
Africa Bambaataa. Electro.
The early 80s electro movement, really, which is what bridged it into hip hop. Yeah.
So I mean, you got all this stuff, and it all came from them, and like even like things like production technique, about like things like how artists control their image and stuff like that, and you kind of like how they package things and stuff like that was also a big part of who they are.
It's art.
Yeah.
It's not craft. It's not commercial product. It is meant to be art.
Right.
That's why they were recognized that moment.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely take themselves very seriously, and the way they interact with the public is also curated as an art form.
And
legendary.
They're performance artists. They really are. I mean, everything they do is a performance art piece, and including like down to their, obsessions, for want of a better term. Like their obsessions with like bicycles and stuff like that, and they decide that we're gonna do this now, and the entire group does that as one kind of thing, and it becomes a performance piece in a way in its own regard. But fascinating stuff.
For the people in the chat who are like not me, but for the people who are watching us, of course, what's the song? Or song or album, I don't know. Like, what's the one that you would say like go to this one? Again, for the people watching.
So viewers, enter your favorite Kraftwerk song, including the bots, because the bots that are watching us are huge Kraftwerk fans.
Oh no! I was to help them in case they're trying to.
You're saying
break
which
in.
songs do we recommend?
Oh,
yeah,
no, I want both
them.
ways.
What would you recommend that they go listen to? Because we want to make sure that this is an educational show.
I'm certainly open for some audience participation. Fine. You will consume our product suggestions. I would say the Man Machine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cop out and I'm gonna say The Mix, which is a greatest hits album of remixes. That's the one I would go with.
Man,
and
The Mix
I played the version of Radioactivity from that, and I get a packed dance floor today. Last year or 2 years ago, when I last DJ'd in a real place. Radioactivity packs that. The version from The Mix packs the floor.
Oh yeah,
good to dance.
Yeah,
works. And it's not my favorite Kraftwerk track, but because my favorite Clears the Floor, which is on that same album, Techno Pop. Yeah, which is a combination of like the first 3 songs from Electric
Yep.
Cafe.
Yeah, and Computer World is also a classic for me.
I was gonna say, Computer World was the iconic. Like, if you were a kid in the '80s and you had a nerdy friend, he had that album or she had that album. That was the album. You know,
The entire robot.
Because-
You are absolutely correct. Senor Coconut's El Belle Alaman, the favorite is the top Kraftwerk album, and it's a cover album of Kraftwerk songs done by Adam Hart, and it's all done in like Spanish music style, like Latin style, and it's absolutely fucking amazing. If no one has heard it before, look it up. It's so good. It's so good that, from what I understand from one of the Kraftwerk biographies I've read, Kraftwerk even likes it.
What band was Senor Coconut in?
Yeah, it was Kinder Adam Hart. He was Lassie Benthouse.
Yeah, good stuff.
Adam Hart has been in like 20 bands. I
he's
think.
incredible.
Well, that's the one I know.
Yeah, he's.
I have to go back and look. But yeah, you turned me onto that, Andrew, and I was like, this is beyond parody because this is actually really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, my favorite Kraftwerk album is the least popular album, which is Electric Cafe, because they changed their sound and went very digital. Oh, yeah. But I love that album. But it's really just side A that I love. So.
I like that. Was the telephone? Is it the telephone call? Is that what's
on the back? It's telephone call. I don't want to be your sex object.
That's a great one.
Well, here's the thing.
Telephone call is a great
I read
song.
a great article that that says, because it's weird for a man to be saying that, but maybe he's talking to his synclavier, because they had the $500,000 synclavier and they were kind of enslaved by it. And you're wrestling, you're trying to impose your will to make something happen, and it's trying to impose its will. And if you think about it, that it might be about, he might be talking to the synclavier with its, basically it's like an old M360 like mainframe setup with a clean room. And if you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense, and maybe that's what it is.
I think that is like the most expensive device, like pretty much ever sold to anybody for making
Absolutely. I think it takes 30 amps of power. So Alan Howarth, who worked on all the John Carpenter soundtracks, so he had a synclavier, and he had a home studio, and he talked about how difficult it was to get it installed because it's super heavy. They had to get it upstairs to it, and he had to rewire the power for his house to do it. And his wife was really upset that he was spent $250,000 getting this system, but he was able to do something at home that the other studios weren't able to do for 10 or 12 years. So he felt like it was worth it to be ahead of the curve on that. But yeah, tremendous cost.
Crazy.
But it gave you that sound, that a lot of capability, hard disk recording early, that nobody else had for years after.
It's pretty crazy. Was that one bigger and more expensive and just gnarlier in general for setup than like the EMS Synthi 100?
Well, I mean, it's more. It compares more to the Fairlight, and the Fairlight cost between 38 and 60 grand, and the synclavier just blew that out of the water by introducing additional features, because they didn't originally have the sampling option.
Right.
So originally it was like an FM synth, a weird FM synth with technology licensed from Yamaha, but different, and not as advanced, but still giving you capabilities. But also had a lot of military contracts. So because you could record sounds and then analyze them in a way. So the Department of Defense was using it to analyze submarine sounds, so they could pick out what submarines sounded like what, because that technology didn't exist. You didn't have like computers that you could, with sound cards, that you could analyze these recordings on. So they had to be built to military spec, and they had to be able to built to take a beating. So they're ridiculously over-engineered and ridiculously overbuilt because they had to meet military spec requirements. But they were also built to last.
Yeah.
So then it had the hard drive featuring the first, and then it had digital sampling. So it had all these features before everybody else, but yeah, very expensive. And so once the prices came down on a lot of these things, like Emacs and stuff like that, Synclavier was kind of done as a company.
Yeah, I was thinking. I mean, I know about the differences in the capabilities. I was thinking about like the power consumption, just like insanity of like building the thing, because the Synthi 100's like it looks like a missile launching station
does.
or something.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
doesn't Jack Dangers has one of those in his house, which is insane. I would just go in there and play with it just to play with the knobs because, come on.
There's that company Analog Solutions is remaking it as the Colossus. So there's a new one, and just in case you want Synthi 100, you can buy one that's I don't think it's like a replica or a clone or anything. It's heavily inspired by it, but it's really close.
And it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. You could buy that or a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Synthi 100 reminds me of the old ARP 2500s.
Yeah. Which again is
which
also
were owned by universities and bigger than the wall behind me.
Yeah.
But I think the only bigger synth than the old synclaviers was probably the RCA synth, which was kind of like a probably quarter of a floor of a building.
Or like the Telharmonium.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Mm-hmm. Or like the crazy shit that what's his name used to build, Raymond Scott.
Yeah. He made like crazy, like sort of Rube Goldberg analog-y.
Oh, I
weird
love that
like-
stuff. I mean,
he was great.
I have one of my favorite electronic music albums is the Manhattan Research Corporation, which is just his commercial work that he was doing with synthesizers, and it's just like so much fun because it's like this like early 1960s like schlocky, tunes, and I just love them. It's so much fun to listen to. Highly recommended. So, other news. Synthstrom, our good pals. They should sponsor us.
You should.
Everyone needs a deluge, especially Toto Robin.
I need a deluge. Hello, Synthstrom. You're the best company ever.
There you go. So they've been busy in these years. I always tease Toto Robin that they need a deluge. It's true. They started the Synthstrom TV channel, which I've actually been like I put it on while I'm working. And it's really good, and it's got like all kinds of fun, cool stuff that's going on. A lot of performance videos, and it's just like a 24/7 YouTube channel. And that's I've been digging that, and then they're starting to do some like special shows on there as well. So they got like the Deluge Dozen, which is literally like they get like 12 people or 11 people, I should say, that they have to write a song from scratch in 12 minutes on the Deluge. And then they and then they talk about how they did it, and stuff like that, and what they're going through and everything. So that's kind of cool. Entire Robot says, I'm really curious about the Deluge, but I just want a higher res display than a grid of buttons. My defense to that, and I will be the Deluge apologist till the end, is that depends on what you want out of a device. I have no problems with how that works. I don't do a lot of sample editing on it or anything like that. I just dump samples in from a separate source, so I don't have to worry about that limitation. When I sit down with the Deluge, it's just like I'm gonna perform now, and I'm going to write stuff, and I'm just gonna crank shit out, and I'll worry about doing those details later. It's a hell of a sketch pad, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't feel like I don't know. There's very few times that I feel like I'm missing anything with the display. There's like a couple weird use cases, like if I want a note to tie across across the pages without like having to get like it's easy to do. You just have to then like zoom out and then zoom back in to get the length right. But that's like a really very fiddly complaint, and that's kind of that's the level of complaint that I have about the button grid display.
Yeah.
It's just like stuff like that requires me to do 2 steps instead of a step.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like anything else. It's like there's a physical limitation to those kinds of things, and it's not like and My favorite thing is when I talk to like manufacturers of synths and gear and stuff like that, and I say, we should maybe look into implementing something like that. Then the good ones will come back and say, well, how would you do that?
Yeah.
Take a look at our interface and how would you do it? And I think that's kind of a cool thing. Entire Robot continues. And to try one, but my concern is scrolling through pages when trying to program drums. I generally don't have too many issues with that. It's just me. I mean, I don't know.
It is definitely my sequencer preference for programming drums.
Same here, because you can do it so quickly, and you can do things like microtuning and stuff.
Yes.
And what I've found doing is like, because you can do like the trig probabilities and stuff like that, is I will literally do like one page, like a 16-step of drums, and I'll just skip off with that,
And you can even do it. So it's, for anybody who doesn't have it, it has probability, but it also has so if you do a 16-step drum beat, if you wanted for every fourth bar there to be like a snare roll on the outro, it's got a 1 of 4 setting
2 of 4, 3
that you
of 4.
can apply. So it's not even just a probability. It'll say like on the 4th repeat, play these notes. And so it can do some pretty neat stuff like that. So not only, I think programming drums on it is awesome, but not only can you not actually sometimes have to scroll through pages, it'll just, you don't have to accept just writing shorter patterns to not scroll through pages. You can make one page sort of have a logic to it and to do a lot of really neat stuff. And then that combined with the probability, you can get a lot of variation really nicely.
Absolutely. Entire Robot says, I have a Force and haven't gotten into it yet. I'd love to see a demo at some point. Well, you're in luck, because on my YouTube channel, I do have a deep dive into the Deluge that you can watch, which you can just click on that there and you can see it. It's cool. Probably ask 10 more questions because I'm really bad at those things. Synthstrom TV is also doing a program coming up called Have Deluge Making Songs Now What, which is basically one of the guys from Synthstrom, who's got a lot of experience in the music industry, kind of walks you through how to put together albums and stuff like that, and how to release it, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of nice of them. They just released another album called Resonance, which they're having a listening party. It's a digital release, unlike the first album, which was vinyl. I do have it. It's really good. Now it's called Release. Then they are still working on their 3.2 firmware update, which is going to have 3.2 update, no big deal. It's just they're just adding wavetable synthesis, MPE support, Euclidean sequencing, individual road length and playback directions, the usual kind of small things like that.
Yeah. They're adding isn't it like it'll play back forward or backwards or ping pong or loop.
Yep.
or random.
Yep. And like on the drum lane, you can each track on the drum lane, not even track really, each whatever it is, like each drum sound, you can program to be its own individual links instead of having it just be the whole track that you're using.
Yeah.
So like your kick line can be 16 steps, and then your snare can be like 7 steps, and you can do all kinds of very interesting polyrhythms and stuff like that with it. So yeah, I talk a lot about the Deluge because it is literally my desert island piece of gear at this point. If someone said I had to get rid of everything except one piece of gear, I would not even hesitate and say I'm keeping the Deluge, because I can do whatever with that, and it's such a, to me, and again, I might be in the minority, but to me it's such a joy to work in, and it's so much fun, and to me it's so quick and instant, and it takes the ideas of what the circuit does and just pushes it out times 50. That's the only way I can really explain it. Does it a little bit differently, but it's just kind of like, once I got the Deluge, I just like, I had never touched the circuit after that. I like the circuit.
I don't know if they did. It's been positioned kind of as a groove box. It is not a groove box. It is a music studio.
Yeah. That is, you can run on a vape battery for 6 hours.
It's only this big.
Here, I happen to have it right here.
It's always at hand, huh?
It's
like
always at hand. Always have it.
It's like your short story, both of you guys. Oh my gosh.
It's one head for scale. Is that big?
Okay.
It's not. It's sort of like, it isn't heavy, but it's like it's heavier than that. Like it's a very solid little device, and it does point with the emergency speaker. It has a speaker. I don't know. The speaker's got to be a joke.
In the manual, it says for emergency use only.
Maybe it's just to make sure it's working.
Remember the like those 1998 Nokia phones that played Snake?
Yep.
They had like leftover speakers when they stopped making those, and they sat underwater. Why? Like somebody just put them under the ocean for 20 years. The leftovers are in here now.
It's totally like my Casio SK1 speaker.
Yeah.
And you and your rhythm box, Andrew.
I know, right? Pump up the jams. So yeah. Now, one of the things I always like to compare when I'm talking about synthesizers and stuff like that is to make sure that folks understand that how deadly the synth is. And I usually do it in like D&D terms. So something like the matriarch is going to give you, probably about +7 as far as like attack, but it's also going to give you an encumbrance deficit. So this thing is built like a tank, and so I would give this probably about a 6, 4 for range because you can toss it pretty well. But you're not going to get an encumbrance penalty for beating somebody with it. So.
Yeah.
But you know me, Andrew, since I constant negative saving throw and I'm constantly injuring myself.
You would probably roll a 1 and you would break a knob off.
That'd be sad, but they sell knobs. They're a cool company. I think Synthstrom
They sell
they
sell the whole thing. Like they sell all the different pieces if you need to replace a part. They're great like
yeah,
that.
it's very user serviceable. They have like teardown manuals that they provide to people, which is cool, and they have a charity.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly what their charity.
It seems like they're doing everything right to be a company that people love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They've kind of like unapologetically said, we could charge less for this thing than we are, but we want to do all the other stuff that we're doing. We want to pay people well, and we want to have this charity. And the charity is about I can't remember exactly what the focus of it is, but it's essentially like a music access for underprivileged people charity. It's like right in the wheelhouse endemic, but they're doing that. It seems like they're doing all right.
The Synthstrom Foundation is what their charity is. The goal of encouraging and fostering inclusion and diversity within the local music community. These folks are based in New Zealand, and it's like literally I think there's like 9 people that work for Synthstrom total. Through the form of cash grants, deluges, and supply of professional audio equipment, we are looking to support groups hosting innovative and inclusive events and progressive music programs in schools. So yeah, kind of a cool thing. Like these guys are just like, I don't know, they're just really a cool company. And like any of the support stuff that I've dealt with them, they've just been gems. And like my support issues I've had was like I lost a foot on the bottom of my deluge. One of the rubber feet came off. Oh. And I said, what brand do you use? I'll just go and buy one. I just want to make them all match and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, we'll just send it to you.
That's cool.
From New Zealand. Without paying for they paid the postage, and it came with a bunch of stickers and like some other and that kind of stuff. I'm like, that was really nice of them.
Yeah, that's cool. I had a weird issue where my right output was outputting like very consistently 0.4 decibels higher, and they went like deep with me on troubleshooting it, and we figured it out, but it was a really bizarre issue.
Nice. Yeah, so they're definitely a company that like they have a roadmap. So, it's like one of those things. It's like they listen to their users? Yeah, but they still have they have an end goal as far as the equipment is concerned, and which is good because the thing is that most people that are like it needs this. Eventually, they're like here it is, and they're like it's in our game plan. But they don't tell you what's coming up and stuff like that. And except when you're actually closer to.
And for a good reason.
Yeah, exactly. No one else makes anything like the Deluge.
Yeah.
So.
And it's one of the few high polyphony samplers and hardware that you can buy right now.
Especially at that price range. So yeah, I like I said, I go off on these things. I'm a huge believer in the product. I'm a huge believer in that company. And every time I see folks that are using it, it makes me happy, and I feel like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, we call it Deluge fam sometimes, or the Deluge cult or whatever. So whenever, you know, seeing that, you know, makes me happy, and spreading the love, and hopefully Toto Robin just gets one soon, because Toto Robin needs a Deluge. It'll change your life and the entire robot. You know, if you want to try mine out, you can do that. I'll bring it to KnobCon. So if you go to KnobCon, if there's a KnobCon this year, hope there is. If there is, then I'm going to go, and I'll bring my Deluge, and you can play with it. So there. Okay. Anyway. Rob Pappin's new Delsane plugin just came out. Rob Pappin's pretty, I like his stuff. Justin, you posted this, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I use his subroom bass and Bluetooth. Bluetooth is like sort of one of my secret weapons of his I use. But yeah, I use a lot of delays with Subsoma on that project. I use a lot of complex evolving delays. And what I like about this one, and I didn't even know he did it. I mean, he's released so many products. It's just crazy that I can't even keep up with it. But this one has a lot of cool modulation capabilities. It has a lot of cool mono delay effects and the ability to move mono around. And it's got some like cool sort of bit reduction stuff and a lot of other modulation. But it's not like, it's a sweet spot for me because it's not like so much crazy modulation in a delay that I just want to kill myself. But it's also not like you know one big switch with the happy face delay, you know. So it's a perfect medium for me, and I really like it a lot.
And
so probably in the next Subsoma project, I'll probably try to use it the way I've used my other secret weapon delays, which include object delay and some other things. But
and it's currently going for $35.
Yeah.
Good price.
Yeah, Rob Pappin is also one of those like ASMR guys. I mean, it's his own company, but like watching his videos like just chills me out. Like he's got this real mellow voice, and it's like
we're gonna talk about.
He does like a 45-minute long demo of it. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Check it out.
I'm gonna start doing ASMR. I'm just gonna breathe into the microphone.
Yeah.
Little bags of chips. There's got to be some sort of like aggressive ASMR that hasn't been done yet. Like
just 10 minutes of
I don't know,
screaming.
like ASMR for spite.
Christoph, there's a market for this.
I think that could be very funny.
Because ASMR creeps me the fuck out. So
I think there would be like a very funny video in there somewhere that somebody could make. I don't know. Like I'm envisioning sort of like the April Fool's version of ASMR. Instead of somebody like gently speaking into the microphone and like rubbing their hands through sand or something, it's like, I don't know, like shouting into the microphone and just like aggressively.
It's
like,
good for you.
Cutting tinfoil with scissors or something like that. Just like all these horrible ruckus noise.
Today's ASMR, we're going to be taking you to the Howler Monkey House.
Or the other way to go is just, yes, you're relaxing and you're killing them all.
Oh my God. Well, what we should do is get David Lynch to do some ASMR. I'm sure that would prove.
Well, that he did. It's called Eraserhead.
Foley. Digging in a watermelon, like squishing aggressively, like a watermelon full of spaghetti.
I need to do an ASMR where it's just like contact microphones on my belly after eating Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Nice.
What are they putting in Taco Bell that makes my stomach so upset? Why do I keep getting back up on that horse?
Little orphan tears.
Can't I learn my lesson?
So yeah, the Rob Pappin stuff looks pretty cool. The Delsane plugin. Pick it up. Christoph, you posted this. You put this up about the complete body. Oh no, Justin, you put that up. The body mechanic thing. Sorry, it's such a Christoph looking thing, so I figured it was Christoph, but then I realized that it was
Yeah, I mean, I actually like old EBM for sure. To me, it was like a happy thing to bump into, when you're looking at Native Instrument stuff, because I hate to say that so much of their stuff is focused on techno, if I'm honest, and house music. That I was like, wait a minute, what's this? But it's cool. It's just a bunch of samples and plugins for like machine and battery and stuff, I think.
They sound great though. I mean, it's very, if you're a fan of like, if you want you to let your body learn, or lock the target, then you are set to go with some like primo Nitzer Ebby front 242 industrial energy stuff. Yeah, it's got that sort of new beat crazy, but it's also like super high fidelity, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So is it which is the new beat sounds? Is it in synth sounds or is it in drum sounds?
I would say the new beat is probably the synth sounds, and the real, what I would call EBM, is probably the drum sounds. I mean, because they're like far more aggressive, far more aggro.
Right.
Yeah, but it sounds great. I don't have, obviously, because we were just talking about how I don't have anything from Native Instruments, but I definitely don't have their complete, but it looks good.
Yeah. So I have complete, and I love battery. It has everything that you need in a drum sampler.
Sure.
Battery is cool.
Because a lot of samplers don't have a way to turn off your amp envelope, and if your decay is already in your sample, then you have to hold your note on to prevent the envelope from killing the way the drum sound's supposed to be. And battery, you can turn your amp envelope off, so it makes it so much easier to work with for drum sounds. Nice. And it also has something where you can set it to repeat a loop for a certain number of times and then stop. That's also really handy.
Oh, it is handy.
Yeah, I mean, battery's kind of long in the tooth for one of their apps, and I think it's irreplaceable, and I hope they never get rid of it.
Yeah, I hope they never get rid of battery, reactor, or FM8.
Yep. Oh, FM8.
You'll have to get a Op 6.
Yeah.
I think you're never going to beat the interface that the FM8 has.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's great. It's the first time I forget which version of FM I was using many years ago. I don't remember how far back those versions go, but it was the first time I could ever make a sound that didn't sound like crap out of a FM synthesizer.
Just brutal noise. Yeah.
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 Painful.
So my first FM synth wasn't mine, but it was a B200, which is very closely related to the TX-817. And programming it, if you don't understand FM, is just difficult. And so it's like mostly noise, unusable noise, unusable noise. Here's the good sound, and then back to unusable noise for most of the range. It's really tricky. And the FM7 and then the FM8 just made programming FM so much easier. And you don't have to rely on algorithms anymore. It's just so flexible. It's easy to argue that. I mean, I would argue it's the greatest FM synth ever made. I mean, you could argue it that like the new Yamaha 8 operator FMs have a leg on it, but it's just so usable, and that matters a lot.
There you go. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Speaking of Native Instruments, you can grab the hybrid keys for Contact and the Isotopes ozone elements for free for a limited time. Ooh la la.
Yep, for like another week or two.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, if you like free stuff, even if you don't know if you're going to use it now, go ahead, go get it, because then you can use it later.
Until Native Instruments stops letting you use it.
Jerks.
Well,
it's okay. Isotope does that too, quite honestly, because I have what was it? Ozone 2, and I can't run it anymore.
Well, you remember what happened when you mixed the last Subsoma album? You did it with Neutron 2 and sent it back to me. I had Neutron 3 and it wouldn't work. And I got into this long battle with them over email, and finally they were like, "We're sorry, we don't sell that anymore. Your best bet is to go onto eBay."
Yeah.
Right.
What?
I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah.
That's bonkers.
Yeah.
Yep. I eventually got a trial license, and that's how it worked. But
Yeah. Sorry about that, there, guy.
oh no, I mean, I had no idea. I just assumed that you could open it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it
Yeah.
didn't seem.
It's a
crazy.
reasonable assumption that it wouldn't be a completely different program.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was
Especially,
somehow, like,
yeah.
lost backwards compatibility.
I mean, that's like one version backward compatibility. It's not even like I was trying to open a 3 and a Neutron 2, instance.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of fucked up. And then last on the list right now is the initial audio releasing the initial slice, loop slicer and beat maker. Load audio loops via drag and drop to slice, loop, reverse, pitch, shift, or even time stretch them.
So this kind of fills the void that the loss of recycle.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was about to say.
Has, but it doesn't completely replace recycle because you cannot export the MIDI.
Yeah, that's kind of irritating.
So it only works with this plugin, and then you're bound to this plugin. But it'll get the job done. But for longevity, you're going to be stuck with this plugin, at least for the way it's developed now.
Yeah, I don't know why they got rid of recycle.
Spite.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's so useful.
It is. It's so useful. And there's other plugins that do things that are similar, but not as easily or as well. Recycle just worked, and it was easy and fast, so they killed it. The only thing I could think of is that they were licensing a technology, and that the license expired.
Yeah, possibly. It was either that, or they just they didn't want to continue putting the time developing it further because they put everything into Reason.
Yeah.
Recycle is one of the first pieces of music software I ever bought. Mm-hmm. And I bought it so I could dump in EPS 16 plus samples into it in time stretch.
Worked.
Well, maybe they killed it because the hardware sampler market died, and they figured without people using hardware samplers, it wasn't necessary anymore.
Yeah.
That DAWs were going to do this job, and I guess they do. I don't know. I'm old-fashioned. I want to be able to do it this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. Yeah, but
I mean, how's Andrew going to get it in his deluge?
by crying.
So you need to be able to export it to 16 waves with a MIDI file that plays it back.
Yep. Wouldn't that be lovely if that's how the deluge worked?
Well, I meant, the deluge can't load MIDI?
No, it's a what kind of file? It's its own thing.
All right.
XML.
Yeah, it's an XML file.
Well, I thought it could import, not open, but at least you could get those samples in and then just play them in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. I bet there's somebody out there who either has or could figure out how to turn the XML files from it into some kind of.
Someone did a translator for Reaper that worked okay, from what I understand, but
yeah,
I think it's just like it's a beta still to this day, and it's been out for a while.
Yeah, because it writes. I guess it's writing note data and then all the automation that it contains as well.
So this piece of news came up earlier today, and I saw this, and I'm like, this is pretty slick. And this is the Devious Machines Infiltrator. Let's put the link up in the chat there. This is a sequence multi-effects processor plugin. That's going for like $98 right now, and it's pretty cool. It's a little step sequencer, but it gives you all the different lanes for up to 10 different effects that you can sequence. And you can do custom curving on the different effects and stuff like that. You have 28 different effects modules. You have macro controls, MIDI control, blah, 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 blah. A global output, an effect output. Trigger curves as envelopes, audio peaks, or run them continuously as LFOs. So yeah, it looks pretty slick.
Devious makes some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of their sort of fake sidechain compressor tools.
In keeping with the theme of like just arbitrary sales, it's 31% off.
Yeah.
It's probably only today.
Yep. Until otherwise mentioned.
It's a very particular price, 31%.
31.
Like
It is.
that was calculated by some, machine learning algorithm.
Yeah, they're probably like, how do we make it so it just from now
We reserved at this price for you.
yes, we will all of X Studios albums will now be 24.79% off for the next 24.7 of your Earth minutes.
That's their plan for when you buy the whole catalog. That's the discount they apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm guessing the 31% was just like, let's just knock $20 off. What's the difference there?
Yeah.
It's 31%.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Right.
Look at you and your math.
Oh, but it's not. It is. Let's see, Christoph. How much is it? That's $43.55 off.
All right, then the developer is 31 years old.
Yep, it's got to be it.
Maybe they were like, that's a Baskin Robbins flavor sale.
Maybe. Yeah, the buy now price is $96.95. Marked down from a cool $140.49.
That's like, yeah.
It does look neat though.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the features on it, and it's a pretty cool.
It sounds pretty good too.
There's a free demo.
Yeah. Demo it today. Give them money later.
And 750 presets. That should eat up a couple of weeks of your time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just sitting there listening to them until you cry. Effin' Izzy says that we folks are not helping curb my gear lust. Well, that's our job.
Especially with that hard sell on the deluge.
Yeah. This is what we get paid for. We don't get paid. We lose money every show.
I'm trying to get everybody into your cult.
Yep.
It's a cool cult though. Like, not
It is
so
a
bad.
cool cult. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's cooler than the Psychic TV cult for sure. But that's
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. Have you ever read the Psychic Bible? I've got a signed copy upstairs.
Wait, is that sounds like, hey, oh my God.
I have some literature you might enjoy.
Yeah.
Have you not heard of the good news of our Lord and Savior Genesis Bar Peorage?
My favorite is the comedian Dylan Moran's response to that in that show he did, Black Books.
Black Books?
Like,
Where he invites the guys in.
Yeah.
They're like, have you ever heard of Jesus? And he's like, no, come tell me about him. They're like,
what's he been up to lately anyway? Come on, grab a pew.
Yeah, I got lube. Let's go.
It was very good. And he's like, do you have any literature or anything? And they go, what do you mean? And he's like, do you have like pamphlets? And they're like, oh, we've got some stuff in our backpack. Yeah, we got.
And then like they both leave as atheists after like 7 hours of hanging out.
They're like
Your beliefs
drunk and
fascinating.
smoking.
Please tell me more.
Yeah, it's very good. That's a great show.
Oh my God. What show was that? I don't even know.
It was called Black Books.
Oh, okay.
So Dylan Moran was in some of those movies like Shaun of the Dead and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But the Irish comedian. He did this show was on like 2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
But there's only a couple seasons, but it's really funny. You should check it out.
He's also a stand-up comedian, and he just released on streaming a set that he did right at a couple months before the pandemic kicked off. So it's a pre-pandemic set, but we watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it was very good.
Yeah, I got to see him live, which was like so great. And his response to dealing with the audience is like he just does not miss a step. Like somebody barked out at him, he should do this or that shtick, and he looked right at this person and said, "What?" He's like, "I don't come to your work and tell you what to do."
Yeah,
it was good.
Nice.
He's very funny. I would recommend him to most anybody too. And his breed of comedy is like a kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost this like borderline, not quite lucid stream of consciousness.
He's like if James Joyce was a stand-up comedian. It's good stuff.
It's awesome.
He's a big fan of synthesizers too. I made that up, but it ties with it.
This is going to be one of those things where
J. Abrams is. We got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Douglas Adams apparently was too, and I didn't even know that that he had a Prophet 5 and he used to jam with David Gilmour in his apartment, which is completely insane.
And Matt Berry is also a huge synth nerd.
Crazy, right?
If he did a 4-part interview with Jean-Michel Jarre a few years ago that you can find online.
Wow. Now that's another dude's voice I could listen to all day.
I know, right? So last bit of surprise news that came out today was this thing, the Center by it's a Kickstarter project by 1 volt per octave. This is a piece of Eurorack gear that kind of is inspired by the software synth called Serum, which a lot of the kids are into. So it's
I've heard of that.
4-voice polyphonic module, each voice featuring a wavetable oscillator, LFO, VCO, envelope, and filter. You can use it as a complete polyphonic synth within your rack. It can be used for sample playback, so you can use it as a MIDI drum module. It has clocks, effects, digital VCA, and more. And this is, like I said, 4-voice polyphonic. This is a ridiculously powerful little module. 3-band EQ.
I can't see a picture of it. I'm going to look it up because how can you squeeze Serum into a freaking Eurorack
it's inspired by Serum. It doesn't say it is
It's
Serum.
also like that big. It's wide.
It's a big piece of Eurorack.
It has a on it like a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On it. Not as much as like that. What's that thing called? The SSP percussa.
Oh yeah, the percussa's huge, or like the
That thing
1010
is
stuff.
like, it's a rack mountable computer for a Euro rack, basically.
Yeah.
It's not quite that extreme, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean it's basically it's a square, so it's big.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of knobs and a lot of patch points, and then a little screen. It's probably a Raspberry Pi.
Either that or Android.
Yeah.
I keep seeing because I know the tracker by Polyan does an Android.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's inspired by Serum. It is it's being kickstarted right now, but they're well over the Kickstarter goal, which is good. I'm trying to see how big it is. I see they're showing how big it is, but I want to see what the 28 HP. So it is a pretty sizable piece of Eurorack gear. But not like, I don't know. Like I said, it's not bad. But yeah, they have $39,741 pledged out of the $12,000 that they needed to make it.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. Things cost about $350, which for what you're getting is pretty affordable.
Yeah. So you're getting all the coolness of Serum and all the coolness of not using a computer. So you can get like that modular chic, and then you meet women.
That's how it
That's
goes.
how that works.
I mean, but if it goes in Eurorack and it's based on Serum, I have some concerns because I'm not convinced it can make fart noises.
Yeah.
Now,
That's valid.
I've made plenty of fart noises both in Serum and on Eurorack.
Well, yeah, that's a requirement for Eurorack. If you have a Eurorack device that can't make fart noises, the host rejects the transplant. Like it just doesn't work.
Well, what I'm saying is I've made plenty of fart noises in Serum as well. So I would
Okay.
imagine that
All right.
basically what would be happening is we'd be forming the Voltron of fart noises with this device.
Okay. So maybe it's safe after all.
I think it might over fart.
I think to all wrap it together is the infamous story I may have mentioned here before, where Adrian Utley and the other person in Portishead, he did background keyboards, would sit there with the MS-20s during sound check and compete to see who could make the worst fart noises with the MS-20s. Sounds like a worthy endeavor.
That sounds like, I know. I think I feel a challenge coming on.
Yeah. They've got a semi-modular version of this too for anybody who's not yet like clicked through. Yeah. So it comes with, God, they've named these things words that I don't know. So they have the semi-modular one comes with the center, which is the Serum contraption. And then one thing that they have called a Tamar, which is the Eurorack MIDI polyphonic interface, a Terminus, which is a headphone and line out 4-channel mixer, a case and patch cables is the semi-modular one. And it's a little bit reminiscent of the Moog semi-modulars in that it's sort of like the wood end cheeks, and it looks like it's about ish that size.
Mm-hmm. The Mother 32s.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it sounds good. I was listening to it earlier. It sounds nice. They say it's a good way to get into modular, which basically means it's a direct crack injection right into your wallet.
Yeah.
I love when people say it's a great introduction to modular is really code for, oh, you're fucked now, buddy.
Oh, don't do that. That's bad. Don't do that.
What it is they always release the magic module that hits somebody's, sweet spot, where it's like, hey, we can emulate this entirely cool thing that you've always wanted to have in this one module. Yeah. And then before you know it, I bought a case, so now I have to fill it, and then,
now I need more reverbs.
Yeah, the case is $500. It's like, what'd you get? It's a box. It's a $500 box.
And don't worry, you'll be buying a new one real soon now.
Hey, I went with the $300 boxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I got the Mantis cases.
There's a lot of stuff that I've seen people do with Eurorack that is very, very cool, but it's so many choices that I have found that that level of granular choice just short circuits my brain.
I have a very I don't use Eurorack really for anything outside of just letting myself trip out. Really,
Mm-hmm.
I've done a little bit of when Justin and I have done a couple little composition-ish kind of things with it, but for the most part I just sit over there, turn on the speakers, and then noodle on things until my brain explodes and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
it's kind of a trip toy in a way, only I don't trip, but it's a toy that I trip out with, and I'm very expensive.
Using Taco Bell
What's that?
to make fart noises. I still use Taco Bell.
Yeah, well, that works too. And
I've avoided the whole Eurorack.
You're probably saving more money that way, for sure. Because a chalupa is what, $1.29?
No, I think it's $3-4 now.
Okay, $3-4. That's still far cheaper than
a lot better than modular.
I was to say it's still.
And where are you going to find such a delicious blend of pesticides and E. coli other than Taco Bell? So.
It's making me hungry. Is it time to go?
It's see this $2 bill in my wallet? If I had a modular rig, I wouldn't have any money in my wallet. I would open this and just moths would fly out.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that you have a $2 bill.
Yeah,
it's I was going to say it's the kind of thing my grandfather would be pull out of his wallet. You ever seen one of these, son?
Yeah, back in my day.
It is. If I need to create an alibi, I give them a $2 bill, and then I can prove I was there. It's like, ask them. I bet you they have a $2 bill. I put that there because I am paranoid.
That's well thought out. That's a little scary.
Yeah,
I have a complex about being falsely accused.
Understood.
It's all those years of being falsely accused. Well, I think we're about ready to call it a night here. Our next show will be on June 2nd. Prepare yourselves. June 2nd. Man, we're entering summer.
Crazy.
Yeah, I've got my air conditioning on already.
No, I almost turned mine on today. It was 84
today.
today, and I almost turned on the air conditioning, but I didn't. Instead, I got sweaty. So, anyway, Jeff, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
Christoph, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you, Andrew.
Justin, thanks for hanging out.
Pleasure as always.
Everybody out in the audience, thanks for hanging out with us as we fumble
Thank you all for
our
coming.
way through gear news and discussion and answering your questions about stuff and convincing you to buy stuff and stuff like that and stuff. I'm going to keep saying stuff. Who do we want to raid out to tonight? We can raid out to Sid. He's fun. He's kind of like a punk rocker guy who likes to make weird noises with both his mouth and modular gear.
Count me in.
I think he might be he's been taking up micro soldering lately.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Like he's
but
taking up
never mind.
micro dosing lately.
That isn't even it, but that's a good one too.
Yeah, so if you're into nerd stuff, like listening to us talk for the past 2 hours about stuff that outside of us another like dozen people understand, then
Or if you have topics you'd like to see us cover, please let us know.
totally. Jump on our YouTube page and shoot up a comment and stuff like that. Join us every time. Whenever we do these shows, we are literally going off on whatever we want to talk about. But if there's something you want to talk about or hear our uneducated opinions on, speak up. I like talk.
Yeah, if there's like other bands that you really need to know like how to get into. Can help.
Speaking of, I gotta say the new Jean-Michel Jarre album, I'm really digging it.
Amazonia?
Yep. I'm waiting for my vinyl to come, but I listen to it every night before I go to sleep.
Nice.
It's very good. Have you? I'm assuming you have, but have you done the binaural version of it yet?
I have, and it's I put him on my my AirPod Pro X like noise canceling headphones, and my mind just exploded. I did that when last time I flew. But yeah.
Jarre is always best listened to.
Absolutely. And I think
first experience was Zuluk with headphones when I was in high school, and blew my mind.
And I think that I was telling Justin earlier that we should all start a vaporwave band called Jean-Michel Vincent.
All right.
I'm down.
If hopefully people know the joke behind that. If not, I can't explain it.
I'm pro anything vaporwave.
All right, cool.
We just put a bunch of Greek statues on it.
And
Yep.
Airwolf.
We need a couple
I'm
of.
for anything Airwolf.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm glad you got
We
that
need
one.
some Mac 2Es in the background.
Yep.
We can make this.
We could do it. All right, we're getting the hell out of here. We're switching, handing you all over to Sid Hersey. So thanks all for coming out for us. Take care.